Good Sunday afternoon here in the west coast of the United States. I'm Russell Mays, and you're listening to Radio Russell at podbean.com. Thank you all for joining me. It's going to be an interesting subject today. And of course, I call this one Annie, Get Your Gun. Why would I do that? Why would I do a show about Annie, Get Your Gun? There's a lot of hoopla going on about owning weapons here in the United States. And that hoopla is taking traction on the left and the radical socialists. Basically, a good way to start out the day, I guess, is just to read exactly what the Second Amendment says in the Constitution. It reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay, pretty straightforward, right to the point. Shouldn't be many questions about that, but our new politicians want to really trash it any way they can. I'll give you an example. Bloomberg, he was talking about when he was running. He's not running now, but he said, well, we believe in the Second Amendment. And he said, and this is what I quote, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. They're not going to mess with that. But he should have done that because it was a broken statement. And he should have added, shall not be infringed. And our formers and the creators of the Constitution used certain words specifically to tell the government what they cannot do to the people. The Constitution is written for the people to keep the government under control, not vice versa. It wasn't written for the government to control the people. So keep that in mind. I'm a gun believer. I carry my CCW. I believe everybody in the United States should carry a weapon, or at least have one available in case they need it. A weapon, pistol, gun, whatever, has never killed anyone. The person holding the weapon is the one that's utilizing the tool to kill a person. So think about that, folks. So many times people out there, oh, guns kill. If we didn't have guns, no. Teach your children the proper use of a weapon to respect that weapon. If you can't respect the weapon, then you don't have respect for the people around you anyway. You don't have respect for the life. How can you teach somebody not to kill somebody with a weapon when they would allow the child of an unborn child to be killed anyway? Right there, they have no respect for life. So, right there, the whole communication of respect for human life goes right out the window. So, there's no way to control them anyway. You will never, ever stop evil in the world. Evil exists because of free will. Good example is every country on this planet, every one of them, no matter what government controls it or what government doesn't control it, somebody has died at the hands of another. Communist China, Communist Russia, those two countries. North Korea. You are not even allowed to even talk about a gun, let alone have one or see one, unless you're in their military. And yet, they still have murders and killings. So, what do? It has been statistically proven that if you arm an entire town, the crime rate will drop to almost nothing. If you disarm a town, the crime rate will increase dramatically. Take a look at Chicago and LA. No matter how many rules and regulations they put in about gun control, causes more and more people to die by guns. And the reason is, and then people say, well, that's no excuse. If you take all the guns away from good people, then only the bad people will have guns. It's true. Absolutely true. The statement, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, states right there, it doesn't say the security of a free country. It says the security of a free state. Because our country is made up of free states. And the states have the ability to run and operate their states as they see fit. That's the reason why you have such weird gun laws from state to state. And it's all because of our politicians and our leaders that make those particular rules and regulations. Heck, even from city to city and town to town. You could be legal in one city and just be driving across town to the next city, and as soon as you hit their borders, you violate one of their laws. This is the reason why they do what they do, because they want to control it. Now they want you to have identification to buy bullets, background checks to buy ammunition, or over 10 load magazines. These people are doing everything and anything they could possibly do to infringe upon your rights. Next question that comes up all the time is, why is it the Second Amendment? Why is the right to bear arms shall not be infringed the Second Amendment? And the reason for that is it was there to protect the first: freedom of speech, self-expression, the ability to tell people what you think without fear of reprisal. But even that's coming under control or attack considerably. You can see it on campuses now. Only the left can speak on college campuses. Only the communists and the socialists are allowed to speak on campuses. Capitalism, conservatism, and constitutionalists are not allowed to speak. And the reason why is because they have been indoctrinated to take your guns away. One of the things they do have a problem with, and even these whack jobs that want to take your guns away, and they want to pass all kinds of laws, they're going to have a serious problem with that. And their problem is there's 320 million people in the United States, roughly, a little bit more. About 150 million of these people own weapons, at least 150 million people. But according to Joe Biden, the 150 million people were killed by weapons, but that's another joke in itself. So let's just say it's 150 million people that own a weapon in the United States of some form, whether it be pistol, shotgun, whatever it may be. The number of actually privately owned weaponry is almost 400 million privately owned guns in this country. That right there gives the power back to the people. And our politicians know this. Our so-called elected officials know this. So they have to chip away at it from underneath or behind the scenes, because if they come out now and say, like what Beto O'Rourke does, I'm going to come to your house, knock your door down, take your guns away, that will cause another civil war in this country. And they will lose drastically. They'll probably end up going the way of Mussolini and the rest of them. But the problem is they're trying to take away your rights as a good citizen of the United States, the ability to own a weapon. And I'm sorry, I am sick and tired of the case being told that, oh, you're going to use a gun for hunting. Well, you can't use an AR-15 for hunting. Well, I'm going to tell you something else about the ARs. Doesn't mean assault rifle. The AR is adopted by the people just to call it an assault rifle. A flintlock back in the 1700s was an assault rifle, if you really want to get down to it. But the use of the weapons for hunting was used back when they had to, plus they used it to protect their family. Nowadays, most of the time, you're going to have a high-powered rifle for certain states like Alaska for long-distance shooting and hunting and stuff like that. Most people do it decently. but it's not to survive. And the Second Amendment was never written for hunting. And it states right in the first part of the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to security of a free state. That's what it means. That doesn't say hunting. It doesn't say anything. It was written to protect you from your government coming in and telling you how to live your life and then controlling it, such as a communist or a socialist or a dictatorship countries do. Look what happened in Venezuela, one of the biggest prosperous countries out there. Vast oil reserves coming in, very wealthy. Socialists came in, took over, took everybody's guns away, took everybody's rights away. Now the country is in such bad shape. They were eating zoo animals there for a while just to get nourishment. That's what the few controlling people want out of the communist socialist parties. Why they want it, I have no idea. They say socialism is a great thing to make everybody fair share. All right, let's just say everybody fair share. Then the people that are putting forth should give up all their properties and money to fair share with everybody else. But until everybody is actually exactly the same, you'll never have the proverbial lie of socialism. Socialism is nothing but a dictatorship that leads to communism. And one of the ways they will get there is by taking your guns away from you. That's what they want to do. That's why Joe Biden said that he's going to have Beto O'Rourke as his Secretary of DHS security or whatever. And his first task is to take away all the assault rifles. Or they didn't even say assault rifles, they said assault weapons. Very broad stroke. You can utilize a bow and arrow as an assault weapon. So that's what they're putting forth. That's what they want to do. That's what they're going to do if they ever allow it. It's very hard to get to that point, and you have the media pounding on it every time there's a shooting. It's like, oh my God, he used the gun. He killed all those people. We got to take away the guns. Well, let's take away the people's. Why did he do it? You know, it's always somebody else's fault. The person that did the shooting has an evil heart. But they love the evil heart because it gives them an excuse to take away the ability of the people to protect themselves from the evil heart. And I use the evil heart very loosely because a lot of these people out there that want to take your weapons away do have an evil heart. They do not care about your livelihood. They don't care about your sovereignty or your family or anything along those lines. They want the control, and the control never lasts. Look at it this way. Here in the United States, for the last 243 years or better, we've been living underneath a capitalist society. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Those are the rights that you have that were given to you by our God. Our Constitution did not say anything about how to do it, what to do it, and where to do it. They wrote the Constitution to keep the government from putting their rules on you. You have a right to free speech. You have a right to bear arms. You have a right to What are some of the other ones? To confront your accusers. You're innocent until proven guilty. You have a right to vote. You have a right to breathe. All these are to keep the government from putting their controls on you. So what do? Oh, that's okay. I want free health care, and I want free schooling, and I want everything given to me for free. I don't want to work for anything. Well, if you don't work for it, then you don't deserve it. And that's the way they look at it. That's how they buy into it. Well, I tell you what, I will give you free health care if you just allow us to take the guns away from the people. I'll give you free education as long as you give us the right to control your own free speech and how you present and talk. And I give you free food on food lines that we can control of how much food you get and how many people you. I mean, look at China. China has a law that you're only allowed to have one birth, and they say, well, it's helped the population. Well, China has a huge population. They're at 1 billion people, but also China has enough resources there to feed those billion of people. But since they have such control of the people, look at it like this. The coronavirus over in China. Do you really think their government went into Wuhan and quarantined that entire city of 35 million people, and they were not allowed to do anything, go out of their home just once in a while, do whatever just to make their livelihood? It's still presumably going on. Do you really, honest to God, think that our government would come up and say, okay, LA is completely shut off and quarantined, nobody in, nobody out? How long would that last? Are you kidding me? There'd be riots out the yin yang because it's infringing upon the rights of the people. And that's the only time the left and the so-called socialist people will fight, is when they start getting controls put up on them. That's what's going to happen to them if a socialist or a communist or a dictator gets into office. And believe me, once they're in office, you'll never get it back. Absolutely not. So, what is the real meaning of owning a weapon? A lot of people say, well, it's for sports and fun. Yes, I go out and do it. I do believe that everybody that owns a weapon should practice with it and understand the use of that weapon. More deaths are caused by accidental shootings because people are afraid to teach the proper use and handling of a weapon. They think just by looking at a pistol or a rifle that the world is all going to come to an end. That's what the problem is ignorance or sheer fear generating by whatever. What I do know is a lot of these problems will be solved if people are taught properly in how to use a weapon. That's all there is to it. Just teach them how to use a weapon. But people don't want to do that. Our governments don't want to do that. Check it out. They want to take your 18-year-old kid, put them in the military, put a weapon in their hands, teach them to go fight to protect this country, so they say, against the enemy. Once they're protecting the country from the enemy, then they come home and now they're told they're not responsible enough to own a weapon. And people buy into this. This has got to be some of the dumbest philosophy out there. Why would anybody buy into this? Why would they even think about buying into this? This is our country. We have a constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. These Bill of Rights were made for the people to keep the government off our ass. But people don't want to defend that anymore. They would rather kill their own children. And they would rather suck off of somebody else that's done well in the world. Never have I seen such a selfish group of people coming up now as a lot of these, I don't want to say youth, but it is the youth. If you talk to them, all they say is, how dare a rich person have all that money when I don't have any? And yet they're 20 years old. That rich person's probably 60 or 70 who busted their ass all their life to gain that money. I don't care how much it is. Billions of dollars or millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands. If you, honest to God, I mean, there's always exceptions. Somebody ripping somebody off or something like that. But if you get down, you make a great business to yourself and you build it up and you make all the money, you deserve to have that money. If you work for a company and you complain that they're making all the money and you shouldn't have to work and give them all the money, then quit. Start your own business. Because anytime you have a job, you agreed to the amount of money they're going to pay you to do a certain amount of work. That's what you agreed to. So stop your complaining about it. If you don't like it, move on to the next job. But that comes right back to our Constitution and the rights that we do carry. We do not have the right to free health care. We do not have the right to free education. We do not have a right to a home. We do not have a right to a family. What we do have is the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if those three means a family to you, you have a right to that because that's your pursuit of happiness. If you want a home, that's your pursuit of happiness. You have a right to pursue this happiness, but you don't have a right to take it away from somebody else after they worked on it all their life. And if you think you do, you've got another thing coming, buddy boy. I'm telling you that right now. Well, I do believe that everybody in this country should be not forced, can't use that word, should learn how to utilize a weapon properly, how to protect themselves. All you see is about all these women getting raped and killed and all this, and they won't teach them. But I do know my name is Russell Mays, and this is Radio Russell Podcast.beam. You take care, folks. Talk to you again. Bye-bye.